Hello and welcome to this first look exploring session, rattling through at great pace, Hercules Furens by Seneca, translated by Jasper Heywood. It is our last session on a Jasper Heywood text. He translated 3 Senecan tragedies. This is his last one, printed in 1561. And we're looking at for the first time. We're not really going to be stopping and starting as we usually do with the first look because time is a bit tight. But if we make good progress, I might throw a random pause in. Otherwise, we'll chat about it at the end, depending on how much energy we still have. But without further ado, the readers are today reading Megara, and the chorus in Act 4 is...
I am Greg, and I'm looking forward to this because I tried to edit it for performance and got completely lost.
Reading Juno and Hercules is...
Liza Graham, I am strongest of all.
Reading Amphitryon is...
Lynsey Beauchamp, actor in Scotland.
Reading Lycus and chorus in Act 3 is...
Hi, it's Tom from Brighton.
And reading chorus in Act 1 and 2 and Theseus is...
Hello, it's Valentina, actor and voiceover artist in London.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I will occasionally remind you when it's a new act. And occasional entrances and exits that are mostly inferred, not in the original text. But otherwise, we will crack on, and we go into Act 1 with Juno alone.
I, sister of the Thunderer, for now that name alone remains to me, Jove evermore as though divorced and gone, and temples of the highest air as widows shunned have, and beaten out of skies above the place to harlots gave. I must go dwell beneath on ground, for whores do hold the sky. From hence the bear, in part above of icy pole full high, a haughty star the Greekish ships by seas doth guide about. From this way, whence at springtime warm the day is leased out, Europa's bearer through the waves of Tyria shines full bright. From thence their stormy fearful flock to ships and seas affright. The wandering daughters here and there of Atlas upward sway. With staring bush of hair from hence Orion gods doth fray, and Perseus eke his glittering stars of golden gloss hath here. From hence the twins of Tindar's stock do shine, a sign full clear. And at whose birth first stood the ground that erst went to and fro, nor only Bacchus now himself, or Bacchus' mother Io, have climbed to gods, lest any part should from rebuke be free. The skies the Gnossian strumpets crowns do bear, in spite of me. But I of old contempts complain, me, one dire, fierce, and shrewd, Theban's land with wicked brood of Jove's base daughters strewed. How oft hath it a stepdame made, though up to heaven should rise the conquering drab Alcmena now, and hold my place in skies. And eke her son, to promised stars obtain the worthy way, at birth of whom the staying worlds so long deferred the day, and Phoebus, slow from morning sea, began to glister bright, commanded long in ocean waves to hide his drowned light. Yet shall my hates not leave him so. A wrathful kindled rage his mind in madness shall stir up, and ire that may not swage shall evermore, all peace laid down, wage wars eternally. What wars? Whatever hideous thing the earth his enemy begets, or whatsoever sea or air hath brought to sight, both dreadful, dire, and pestilent, of cruel fiercest might. 'Tis tired and tamed, he passeth all, and name by ills doth raise, and all my wrath he doth enjoy, and to his greater praise he turns my hates. While tedious toils too much him I behest, he proves, What father him begot, both thence, where light oppressed hath sea, and where it showed again, where Titan day doth train, and with his brand approaching near doth die those Ethiops twain. His strength untamed is honoured, and God each where is he now called in world. And now more store of monsters want to me, and labour less to Hercules is to accomplish all my will, than me to bid. At ease he doth mine emperies fulfill. What cruel hests of tyrant now so fierce a young man may prevail to hurt? For lo, he bears for weapons now away what once he feared and put to flight. He armed comes at side with lion fierce and hydra both, nor land sufficeth wide, but broke he hath the threshold low of that infernal Jove, and spoils with him of conquered king he draws to gods above. But that's but light. Broke is the league of sprites that there do dwell. I saw him, lo, the night now gone, of hell and Ditys tamed, throw out abroad before his father's sight his brother's spoils. Why draws he not oppressed and bound by might himself in chains that equal things to Jove by lot doth hold, and bear the rule of captive hell, and way to Styx unfold? Up opened is from lowest ghosts the backward way to sky, and sacred secrets of dire death in open sight do lie. But he, the dreadful den of sprites, break up full fierce and stout, even over me doth triumph, lo, and with proud hand about the foul black dog by Greekish towns he leads from hell away. When seen was ugly Cerberus, I saw the fading day and fearful sun. Even me likewise a trembling dread oppressed, and looking on the filthy necks of conquered monstrous beasts, I feared much my own behests. But light things I complain, for heaven I may be afraid, lest he may get the highest reign. That lowest one the sceptres from his father will he take, nor he to stars as Bacchus did his way will gently make. The way with ruin will he seek, and he in empty skies will reign alone with force displayed his haughty heart doth rise, and he that heaven itself by force of his might gotted be, it bearing learned, quite underneath the world his head set he, nor once his shoulders bowed the praise of such a mighty mass, and midst of heaven on Hercules' neck alone low settled was. His neck unried the stars above, and skies did only stay. And me likewise oppressing him, to gods he seeks the way. Go on, and beat him down that great things doth invent. Match thou with him, and with thy hands now thou thyself him rent. Such hates why dost thou meditate? Let all wild beasts now go, and weary Eurystheus now be free from giving charges mow. The Titans daring once of Jove to break the empery, send out, let loose the den abroad of Mount of Sicily. The Doric land, that with the turn of giant quakes afraid, let it bring forth the dreadful necks of monster underlaid. Let yet the haughty moon about some other beasts beget. But these he overcame. Seek'st thou a match, Alcides, yet? There's none except himself. Let him against himself rebel. Let present be from bottom deep upraised of lowest hell the Eumenides. Let flaming locks of theirs the fires outspring, and fearful hands bestow about the strokes of vipers' sting. Go now full proud and scale the skies, to feats of gods make way. Now must thy battle's wages be full clear, lo, shines the day. Despite man's works, think thou fear'st white to hell and souls allow thou hast escaped? Nay, here I will another hell thee show. In deep mist hid I will call up from bottom low of hell, beyond the ways of guilty ghosts debateful goddess fell. Whereas the roaring dreadful din resounds with cries about, from deepest bond of Ditys reign beneath, I will set out what so is left. Let hateful hurt come now in anger wood, and fierce impiety imbrue himself with his own blood, and error eke and fury armed against itself to fight. This mean, let wrath of mine now use to show my might. Begin, ye servants now of hell, the fervent burning tree of pine shake up, and set with snakes her dreadful flock to see. Let now Megara bring to sight, and with her mournful hand, for burning rage bring out of hell a huge and direful brand. Do this. Require you vengeance due and pains of hell his spoil. Strike through his breast, let fiercer flame within his bosom boil, than that which Aetna furnace beats so furiously to see. That mad of mind and witless may Alcides driven be. With fury great through pierced quite, myself must first of all be mad. Wherefore doth Juno yet not into raging fall? Me, ye Furies, sisters three, thrown quite out of my wit toss first. If anything to do, I do endeavour yet for stepdame meet. Let now my hates be turned another way. Let him returned his babes behold in safety, I you pray, and strong of hand come home. I have now found the day at length, in which may greatly me avail the hated Hercules' strength. Both me and eke himself let him subdue and wish to die. Returned from hell, yet let it here be my commodity, that he of Jove begotten is, here present will I stand, and that his shafts go straight from bow, I will direct his hands. The madman's weapons will I guide, even Hercules fighting low, at length I'll aid. This guilt once done, then lethal is that so, his father may admit to stars those guilty hands of his.
The fading stars now shine, but seldom sight in stipe sky. Night overcome with day plucks inner fires, well sprung again is light. The day star draws the clear sunbeams their way, the icy sign of haughty pole again. With 7 stars marked, the bears of Arcady do call the light with overturned way. With the marble horse now drawn, his way to hide doth Titan top of ether overspread. The bushes brighten now with berry bee of Thebes strewed, but they do blush full red. And to return doth Phoebus' sister flee. Now labour hard begins, and every kind of cares it steers. The shepherds doth unfold, his flock unpenned do grass their food to find, and nips the grass with hoary frost full cold. At will doth play in open meadow fair, the calf whose brow did dam, yet never tear. The empty kine their udders to repair. And light with course uncertain here and there, in grass full soft the wanton kid he flings. In top of board doth sit with chanting song, and to the sun new rose to spread her wings, bestirs herself her mournful nests among the nightingale, and doth with birds about confuse resound with murmur mixed rife to witness day. His sails to wind set out, the shipman doth commit in doubt of life. While gale of wind the slack sails fills full straight, he leaning over hollow rock doth lie, and either his beguiled hooks doth bait, or else beholds and feels the prey from high with paised hand. The trembling fish he feels with line extend. This hope to them to whom of heartless life is quite rest and with his own content, and little house such hope in fields is rife, the troublous hopes with rolling whirlwinds great, and dreadful fears their ways in cities keep. He proud repairs to prince in regal seat, and hard cold gates without the rest of sleep esteems, and endless happiness to hold, thus gather goods, for treasure gaping more, and his full paw amid his heaped gold. The peoples favour him, astonished sore, and commons more unconstant than the sea. With blast of vain renown lifts up full proud. He selling at the brawling bar his plea, full wicked sets his eyes and scolding loud, and words to sail a few hath known of all the careless rest, who mindful how doth flit swift age away, the time that never shall return again to hold, while affairs permit at quiet life, the life full quickly glides with hastened course, and with a winged day the wheel is turned of year that headlong slides. The sisters hard perform their tasks away, nor may again untwist the thread once spun. Yet mankind, law sure, what way to take to meet the greedy destinies do throng, and willingly we seek the Stygian's lake. Too much Alcides, thou with stomach stout, the sorry sprites of hell dost hast to see. With course prefixed the fates are brought about, to none once warned to come may respite be, to none to pass the once appointed day. The tomb of all people called by death doth hide, that glory him by many lands away display, and fame throughout all cities wide, full bubbling praise, and even with sky to stand avons and stars, let him in chariot bright full haughty go. Let me, my native land, in safe and secret house keep close from sight. To restful men hoary age by course doth fall, and low in place yet safe and sure doth lie the poor and base estate of cottage small. The prouder pomp of mind doth fall from high. But said, here comes, we lose the locks of hair, lo, Megara, with little company, and slow by age draws Hercules farther near.
Act 2, enter Megara.
O guider great of heaven, and the world, O judge full high, yet now at length appoint a mean of careful misery, and end of our calamity. To me yet never day have careless shinder, the end of one affliction passed away, beginning of another is. Another enemy, is forthwith found before that his joyful family return unto another fight he taketh by behest. Nor any respite given is to him, nor quiet rest. But while that he commanded is, straight him pursueth she, the hateful Juno, was yet once from toil and labour free his infant age. The monsters, lo, he vanquished hath and slain, for he knew what monsters meant. Let's replace again. Sorry, I've lost me place. For the scaled serpents twain their double necks drew on toward him against the which to rise the infant crept to meet with them. The serpents, glittering eyes like fire with quiet careless breast, he looking fast upon with countenance clear, hard rested, not to them he called anon, and strangling them the sweet throats, and then with tender hand to Hydra prelude made. The beast so swift of men our land, that with much gold bared up so full bright his beautified head is caught in course of Nemea would likewise the greatest dread. The lion pressed with Hercules' arms have roared with dreadful cry. What should I speak? Of stables dire, of steeds of Bistamnia? O king cast out himself for food, his forces fierce to fill. A bristled beast in thick tops want of Adamanthus hill. The boar of Menelae, the woods of Arcady to shake. And bull that did no little dread to 100 peoples make. On the flocks of Hesper land that hence far distant be, the shepherd of Cartesian coast of triple shape to see. and slain, and driven is the prey from the farthest part of west. Cithaeron quaked when by him passed to see the well-known beast, he being bid to make my coasts of summer sun his way, and parched lands which sore with heat doth boil the middle day. The mountains break on either side, and rampiers all undone, even unto swift and raging sea, hath made a way to run. Then, entering in of plenteous wood the pleasant gardens gay, the waking dragon's golden spoils with him he brought away. The learned monsters numerous ill, what need tell have I? Had they not him with fire at length subdued and taught to die? And which were wont with wings abroad to hide the day from sight, even from the clouds he sought and braved the stim-far birds. Not him subdued whoever lies in bed unmatched at night, the widow queen of them that took to Thermodont their flight. Or hands that well durst enterprises noble travails, all the filthy labour made to shrink a foul Augeas' hall. What veil? What these? He wants the world which oft offended he, and the earth well knows the worker of his quietness to be away from earth. The prosperous gift that beareth happy sway is virtue called, and now the good to wicked do obey. The right doth stand in might of arms, fear treadeth down the law. Before my face with cruel hand, even presently I saw avengers, and their fathers raise the swords. Sorry, the sons with swords downcast. And the noble Cadmus eke himself the offspring last, then slain. I saw his regal crown at once from him away, with head bereft. You Thebes, alas, and love bewail now may. The fertile land of gods, what lord now quakes it for us to know? Out of the fields of which sometime in fruitful bosom low, the youth unsprung with sword in hand prepared as battle stood, and walls of it Amphion, what a mighty Jove his brood. Not built with sounding melody and drawing to the stones the town of whom the parent chief of gods not only one's heavens being left have come. This land that gods above away received, on which hath made the gods, and lethal be it to say, perhaps shall make with loathsome yoke of bondages pressed down. O Cadmus' stock, and citizens of old Amphion's town, whereto are ye now fallen? Dread ye a cowardly exile thus, his coasts to dwell in, lacking, and to ours injurious, who through the world pursues the guilt and wrong by sea and land, and cruel sceptres broken, how with just and rightful hand, now absence, what he called in other doth sustain, and now doth banish Lycus hold of Hercules' Thebes the reign, yet shining forth. He shall come home, and him with vengeance quite and sudden rise to stars. He will soon find the way to light, or make it else. Return now safe, repair to thine in haste, and conquer at a conquered house, yet come again last. Rise up, my spouse, and darkness deep repelled a hellish shade, break up with hand, if no way made for thee kept back be made, and passage be shut up, turn with the world uprent by might. Whatsoever is to possess beneath the darkest nights, and now with thee is when the tops of haughty hills undone a headlong passage make through the hasty flood to run. In silence thou sometimes stoodst, when the great might of thine asunder broke the Tempe woods wide open lay, and beaten with thy stroke the mount. Now here, now there, fall down. Rampia rent of stay, the raging brook of Thessaly did run a new-found way. The parents So thy sons, thy land repairing home to sea, break out and lowest bond of things out, bringing thence with thee. And whatsoever greedy age in all these long years race hath hid now show forth, and ghosts that have forgot their former choice, and people up before thee drive that fearful out of light, and worthy spoils for thee they are, if thou but bring to sight what bidden is. Great things, but far too much I speak for me, and wotting of mine own estate. When shall I hap to see the day with thee, and thy right hand I may embrace again, and slow returns, for yet a mind wants me once mindful making play. To thee for this, O guide of gods, untamed bulls shall bring their 100 necks to thee. O queen of fruits on earth that spring, I'll give thee secret sacrifice. To thee with much faith low, long fire brands at Elis's town full silent will I throw. Then to my brethren shall I think to be restored again their souls, and eke himself alive and guiding of his reign. My father, for to flourish yet, if any greater might to keep thee shed before us. With that it turned to flight, defend us all, or else to hell draw us all to thee. Thou shalt us draw, no God shall raise us up that broken be.
And enter Amphitryon.
O faithful fellow of our blood, with chaste true faithfulness, the bride bed keeping, and the son of haughty Hercules, conceive in mind some better things, and take good heart to thee. He will come home, as after all his labours wanteth he of more renown.
What wretches do most chiefly wish of all they soon believe?
Nay, what they fear too much, lest it may fall, they think it never may be shooned, nor rid by remedy.
Our belief is ready still to dread the worst of misery, deep drowned and whelmed, and furthermore with all ye world full lower pressed down. What way hath he to light again to go?
What way, I pray you, had he then, when through the burning coast, and tumbling after manner of the troubled sea uptossed, he went by sands, and freet that twice with ebb away doth slip, and twice upflow, and when alone with his forsaken ship, fast caught he stuck in shallow fords of shelfy certy sand. And now his ship on ground did pass through seas afoot to land.
Furious. Fortune, virtue, most of men, most stout and strong, doth seldom spare. No man alive himself in safety long to perils great, and dangers may so often times outcast. Chance doth often overslip, the same it finds at last. But cruel, low, and grievous threats even bearing in his face, and such as he of stomach is doth come even such a pace. Proud Lycus, whose sceptre shakes in hand by the king the plenteous places of the town of Thebes governing, and everything about them which with fertile soil doth go. Slope, focus, and whatever doth his mainness overflow, whatever thing Cithron seeth with haughty top and high, and slender Isthmus' isle, the which between two seas doth lie.
Enter Lycus.
Not I of native country bowers possess the ancient right, unworthy heir. Nor yet to me are noble men of might the grandfathers, nor stock renowned with titles of name, but noble virtue, who so boasts of kindred whence he come, of other virtues makes his vaunt. But got with fearful hand my sceptres are obtained, in sword doth all my safety stand. What thee thou wast against the will of citizens to get, the bright drawn sword must defend. In foreign countries set no stable kingdom is, but one, my pomp and princely might, may ratify once joined to me with regal torch full bright, and chambers Megara. Of stock of such nobility, let upstart state of mine take shape. I do not think that she refuse it will, or in the bed with me despise to lie. But if with proud unbridled mind she stubborn do deny, then quite I purpose to destroy the house of Hercules. The hate of men will then my pride, and people's speech oppress. Chief of knack of kingdom is to bear thy subjects hate each one. Let's prove her then. Chance given hath to us a place alone, for she her head in fold of veil full sad and woefully enwrapped the gods that are her guides for succor stands fast by. And at the state of her death lean Acydes' father true.
What thing doth this destroyer of our stock again anew prepare? What proveth he?
O Queen, name renowned high, and title taketh of regal stock full gentle and easily. A little while receive and hear my words with patient ear. If always men eternal hate should one to the other bear, and rage be gone out of the heart should never fall away, there but the happy still should armor hold, the unhappy still obey. Then shall the battles nothing leave, with wide fields then the lands shall lie untilled. With unladen to house and fiery brand, then ashes deep shall overwhelm the buried people all. Expedient is to conquer, to wish that peace befall. To conquer needful part of the kingdom come to me. Let's join our minds, take here this pledge of faith and truth to thee. My right hand touch. Why wishest thou with cruel face and mood?
Should I abide the hand sprinkled with my father's blood should touch, and double death imbrued of both my brethren? Nay, first shall sun rise extinguished quite, and west shall bring the day. First fatal peace between the snows and fires that shall be tried, and Scylla shall the Theseus first join his Sicilian side. And first the fleeting flood that with swift turns of course doth flow. Euripus with Euboic waves shall stand full still and slow. My father, the empire, brethren, house thou hast me clear bereft, my country too, what may be more? One thing to me is left, and brother, father, kingdom, house, the dearer is to me the hate of thee, the which to me with people for to be in commune woe I am. How great is mine a lonely part. Rule on, full proud, bear up full high thy sprites and haughty heart. Let God, the proud behind their backs, to follow them to wreak, I know them, Theban kingdoms. What should I, the mother, speak with suffering and adventuring guilts? What double mischief done? Mixed knaves spouse at once. A father and a son. What brethren's double tents? Oh, what as many rages also? The brother proud of Tantal's brood, congealed in mourning low, and sorry stone, yet flows with tears in Phrygian Scylla. Himself likewise erected up his sealed hand or why. Even Cadmus, measuring throughout the Illyrian lands in flight behind him, left a body drawn long slimy marks in sight. Oh, these examples wait for thee. Rule thou as likes thy will, while thee our kingdom's wanted fates do call, and oft hap.
Go to these fierce and furious words, thou woman mad refrain. And emperors of prince learn of Hercules to sustain. Though I the sceptres gotten by the force of war do bear, in conquering hand and all do rule without the law his fear, which arms subdue. A few words yet to thee now speak I shall, for this my case thy father did in bloody battle fall. Thy brethren fell, the weapons keep no measure stay, for neither easily tempered be, nor yet repressed may draw the drawn sword's ire. The battles doth the blood delight out of shed, but he yet of this his kingdom fought we altogether led with wicked lust. Yet the end of war is now complained to, and not the cause, but now let the remembrance thereof go. When conquered hath weapons left, the conqueror's part should be to leave his hates. Now that I, thou, with lowly bended knee, me reigneth worship shouldst require. Even this doth me delight, that thou my miseries do bear with mind so stout upright. Thou for a king a spouse art meet, let's join our beds anon.
A trembling cold doth run throughout my bloodless limbs each one. What heinous things comes to mine ears? I feared not then at all when all peace broke, the noise of war did by the city wall resound. About I bear all that unfearfully to see, I fear the wedding chambers. Now I captive seem to me. Let heavy chains my body grieve, and eke with hunger long lingering death be slowly brought. Yet shall no forceful stroke my truth subdue, for even thine own Alcides will I die.
Doth then thy husband bound in hell give this thee stomach high?
The hells allow he touch, that he the height again might get.
The heavy peace oppresseth him of all the earth full great.
He with no burden shall be pressed, that heaven itself sustained.
Thou shalt be forced.
He wots not how to die, that is constrained.
Speak. What may rather I prepare then, wedding new for thee, more royal gift?
Thine own death else, or else the death of me.
Thou shalt, mad woman, die.
I shall then to my husband go.
More than my sceptres to thee a servant loved so.
How many have this servant slain of kings with handy stroke?
Why doth he yet a king then serve, and still sustain his yoke?
Take once away the hard behests, what's virtue then at last?
Dost thou in virtue count to beasts and monsters cast?
This virtue's part to take the things that all men quake to know.
Him great things bragging, darkness deep of Tartar pressed full low.
They're never made from ground to stars, and easy passage be.
Of whom begot the housen then of gods through pierceth he.
O wretched wife of Hercules great, thy words a while now spare. My part it is the father of Alcides to declare, and his true stock, yet after all of man so stout as this, so famous deeds, and after all appeased with hand of his, whatever Titan risen up doth see, or else at fall, and after all these monsters tamed, and Phlegry sprinkled all with wicked blood, and after gods defended all on high, is not his father yet well known? Or Jove do we belie? Believe it yet by Juno's hate.
Well, why dost thou slander Jove? No mortal kindred ever may be mixed with heaven above.
To many of the gods in skies is this a common trade.
But were they ever servants yet, before thy gods were made?
Of Delos' isle the shepherd low the flocks of Fury fed.
But through all coast he wandered, not abroad as banished, Ed.
Whom straying mother first brought forth, wandering land to sight.
Yet Phoebus did no monsters fear, nor beasts of cruel might.
First dragon with his blood imbrued the shafts of Phoebus low. How grievous ills, even yet full young, he bare, do you not know? From mother's womb the babe outthrown with lightning flame from high, ere next his lightning father stood forthwith above in sky. What, he himself that guides the stars and shakes the clouds at will, did not that infant lurk in den of hollow caved hill? The birth so great full troublous price to have, lo, always ought, and ever to be born a god, with cost full great is bought.
Whom thou a miser seest, thou mayest know him a man to be.
A miser him deny ye may, whom stout of heart you see.
Call we him stout, from shoulders high, of whom the lion throne, a gift for maiden made. And eke his club from hand fell down, and painted side with purple weed did shine, that he did wear. Or may we him call stout of heart, whose staring locks of hair with ointment flowed, whose hand renowned and known by praises high, to sound unmeet for any man of timber did apply. With barbarous martyr closing in his forehead round about.
The tender Bacchus did not blush abroad to have laid out his braided hairs, nor yet with handful soft the Theseus light for to have shook. What time that he with pace unstout in sight his long trained barbarous garment drew with gold full fair to see, still virtue after many works is wont released to be.
Of this the house of Eurytus destroyed doth witness bear, and virgin flocks that brutishly by him oppressed were. No, Juno did command him this, for one Eurystheus low, but these indeed his own works are.
Yet all ye do not know. His work it is with weapons of his own hand vanquished, both Eryx and two Eryx, joined Antaeus Libyan dead, and altars which with slaughter of the strangers flowing fast, Busiris well-deserved blood likewise have drunk at last. His deed it is that he that met the wound and sword is slain, constrained to suffer death before those other Garians twain. Nor one all only Garian doth with one hand conquered lie. Thou shalt among these be which yet with none adultery have wedlock hurt.
What is it to Jove? To king is lethal thing. To Jove thou gavest wife, thou shalt not give one to a king. And even of these she shall it lean to be a thing not new. Husband even approving is it the better man ensue. But if she stubborn to be matched with me deny it still, then by force a noble child of her beget I will.
Oh, crayons, ghosts, and all ye gods of the house of Lapticus, and wedding torches blazing bright of wicked Oedipus. To this my wedding give ye now our wonted destinies. Now, ye bloody daughters, all of Egypt's king likewise. Be here whose hands defiled are with so much guilt that blood outspilled, one daughter lacks of Danaeus. I will fill up the guilt.
Because that stubbornly thou dost refuse my wedding so, and fearest a king, thou shalt know what the sceptres now may do. Embrace thine altar, yet no good God shall ever take away thee from my hands. No, not although with world upturned may Acleides victor yet again to gods above return. The woods on heaps together cast, let all their temples burn, even thrown upon their heads. His wife and all his flock at last with underlaid fire let one wood pile consume and waste.
This only boon I, father of Alcides, ask of thee, which well may me be seem to crave, that I first slain may be.
Who all appoints with present death to have their punishment, he tyrant wots not how to be. Or sundry griefs invent, restrain the wretched man from death, command that the happy die, I, while with beams prepared to burn the pile, increaseth high, will him with vowing sacrifice that rules the sea entreat.
O chiefest power of gods, and of heavenly things so great, the guide and parent eke, with whose throne thunderbolts do shake all things human throughout the world, of king so cruel slake the wicked hand. But why do I to gods in vain thus cry? Wherever thou be, hear me soon. Why start so suddenly the temples thus with moving shaked? Why roareth out the ground? The noise of hell from bottom deep beneath hath made a sound. We heard, lo, it is the sound of Hercules, his pace.
O fortune-hating man of stoutest breath, how ill rewards dost thou to good divide! Orestes reigns at home in easy rest, Alcmene's son in every battle tried, to monsters turn his hand that skies did stay, and cruel necks cut off of hideous snake, and apples brings from sisters mocked away, when once to sleep his watchful eyes betake, did dragon set rich fruit to oversee. He passed the Scythian bowers that stray abroad, and those that in their country strangers be, and hardened top of frozen fleet he trod, and silent sea with banks full dumb about. The waters hard wont there their floods to slow, and there before the ship's full sails spread out is worn a path of Sarmatis wild to go. The sea doth stand to move in course again, now apt to bear the ship, now horsemen bold, the queen that there doth over widow's reign, that girds a womb with girth of glittering gold. Her noble spoil from body drawn hath she, and shield and bands of breast as white as snow, acknowledging the conqueror with knee. With what hope thrown to headlong hell allow, so bold to pass the unreturned ways, soused upon Proserpine's reign of Sicily. With southern wind or western, there no seas arise with wave and swelling surges high. Not there of Tinder's stock, the double brood, 2 stars the fearful ship do aid and guide. With gulf full black thus stands slothful flood, and when pale death with greedy teeth so wide. Unnumbered nations hath sent down to sprites with one boatmeal all over ferried be. God grant thou mayest of hell subdue the rights and unrevoked webs of sisters 3. There king of many people reigneth he, who when thou didst with Nestor's Pilus fight, pestiferous hands applied to match with thee, and weapon bare with triple mace of might, and pricked with little wound he fled away, and lord of death himself did fear to die. Break fate by force, and let the sight of day to sorry sprites of hell apparent lie, and porch unpassed show way to gods above. The cruel lords of sprites with pleasant song and humble bound full well could Orpheus move, while he, Eurydice, them craves among. The art that drew woods, birds, and stones at will, which made delay to floods of flitting flight, at sound whereof the savage beasts stood still, with tunes unwont doth ghosts of hell delight, and clearer doth resound in darker place. And weep with tears did gods of cruel breast, and they which fold with too severe face. To seek and former guilt of ghosts outrest, the Thracian daughters wails Eurydice. For her the judges weeping sit also. We conquered our king, chief king of death, said then to gods, but under this condition, go. Behind thy husband's back keep thou thy way. Look thou not back thy wife before to see. Then thee to sight of gods hath brought the day, and gate of Spartan tenary present be. Love hates delay, nor could abide so long. His gift he lost, while he desires the sight. The place that could be thus subdued with song, that place may soon be overcome by might.
And we go into Act 3. Enter Hercules.
O comfortable guide of light and honor of the sky, that compassing both hemispheres with flaming chariot, high thy reverend head to joyful lands about the world dost bring. Thou Phoebus, pardon me, give to me, if any unlawful thing thine eyes have seen, commanded I have here to light out set the secrets of the world. And thou, of heaven, O guider, great and parent, eke, in flash outthrown of lightning hide thy sight, and thou that governest the seas with second scepter's might, to bottom sink of deepest waves. Whoso from high doth see, and dreading yet with countenance new the earth defiled to be, let him from hence turn back his sight, but face to heaven uphold, these monstrous sights to shun. Let twain this mischief great behold, he who it brought, and she that bad. For painful toils to me and labors long, not all the earth thought wide enough may be for Juno's hate. Things uncome to all men I did see, unknown to sun, and spaces wide the dark and shadeful be, which worser pole gives direr Jove to reign and rule therein. And yet, if third place pleased more for me to enter in, I there could reign. The chaos of eternal night of hell, worse than night, the doleful gods I have that there do dwell, and fates subdued, Then death condemned, I am returned to light. What yet remains? I saw and showed the sprites of hell to sight. Appoint, if aught be more, dost thou my hands so long permit Juno to cease? What thing bidst thou to be subdued yet? But why do cruel soldiers hold the holy temples wide, and dread of armor sacred porch beset on every side?
Enter Amphitryon and Theseus.
Do either else my great desires delude and mock mine eyes, or hath the tamer of the world and Greeks' renown likewise forsook the silent house, beset with cloud full sad to see? Is this my son? My members lo for joy amazed be. O son, the sure and safe guard late of Thebes in misery, see I thy body true indeed? Or else deceived am I, mocked with thy sprite? Art thou the same? These brawns of arms I know, and shoulders, and thy noble hands from body high that grow.
Whence, father, haps this ugliness, and why in mourning clad is thus my wife? How haps it that with filth so foul bestad my children are? What misery doth thus my house oppress?
Thy father-in-law is slain, the kingdom Lycus doth possess. Thy sons, thy parent, and thy wife to death pursueth he.
Ungrateful land! Doth no man come that will an aider be of Hercules' house? And this beheld so great and heinous wrong hath the aided world. But why wear I the day in plaint so long? Let then me die, and this renown let strength obtain in haste, and of Alcides' enemies all, let Lycus be the last. I driven am to go to shed the blood of enemy out. Watch, Theseus, that no sudden strength beset us hereabout. Me wars require, embracing, yet defer, O father dear, and wife, defer them. Lycus shall to hell this message bear, that I am now returned. Then shake off, O queen, out of thine eyes this weeping face. And thou, since that thy son is safe, likewise thy dropping tears refrain. If yet I, Hercules, ever knew, then Lycus shall for Creon pay the pains to him full due. 'Tis light, he shall, he doth, and that's too light he hath it done.
Now God, that can them bring to pass, speed well our wishes soon, and come to help our weary woes. O noble-hearted mate of my stout son, of his renown declare us all the rate. How long away doth lead to place where sorry sprites doth dwell, and how the hard and heavy bones the dog hath borne of hell?
The deeds thou dost constrain to tell, that even to mind secure are dreadful yet and horrible. Scant yet the trust is sure of vital air, so blunted is the sharpness of my sight, and dulled eyes do scant sustain to see the unwonted light.
Yet Theseus, thoroughly overcome whatever fear remains, in bosom deep, nor do thou not of best fruit of thy pains beguile thyself. What thing hath once to suffer been a care, to have remembered it is sweet? Those dreadful haps declare.
All right of world, and thee likewise I pray ye breast the reins. In kingdom wide, and thee, for whom all round about in vain thy mother throughout Aetna sought, that secret things allow and hid in ground, it freely may be lawful for to show. The Spartan land of noble top of hill advances high, where Tanarus with woods full thick the sea doth overlay. The hours of hateful deities here in mouth doth open set, and rock on hill above doth gape, and with a denny full great, a huge and gaping cleft of ground with jaws full wide doth lie, and why full broad to people all doth spread to pasture by. Not straight with darkness doth begin the way that blinds the sight, A little lingering brightness, low behind of late left light, and doubtful glittering yet of sun, afflicted falls allow, and mocks the sight. Such light is wont undoubtedly to show the dawn of day, or twilight else at edge of evening tide. From hence to hollow places void are lost the spaces wide, to which needs perish must all kind of men that once are thrown. Nor it a labor is to go the way itself leads down, as oft the ship against the wheels doth toss this virgin surge, the downward doth that headlong way and greedy chaos urge. So downward, and back again, to throw thy pace, and thee ne'er do permit. The spirits who what they catch hold fast, allow within doth flit in channel wide with silent ford the quiet lake of Lethe, and cares doth rid. And that may to scape again from death no mean be made, with many turns and windings every way, folds in his flood. In such sort as with wave and shore doth play, meander wandering up and down, and yields himself unto, and doubtful stands, if he toward a bank or back to spring may go. The foul and filthy pool to sea of slow Cocytus lies, and one of gripe, and the other side of the mournful Olet cries, and sad luck of the unhappy Strix likewise resoundeth there, full ugly in shady bows, black locks of loathsome hair, where Taxus tree doth overlean, which holdeth slothful sleep, and hunger sad with famished Joe that lies in place to keep, and shame too late doth hide his face, that knows what crimes it hath, both fear and quaking, funeral, and fretting raging wrath, and mourning dire doth follow on, and trembling pale disease, and boisterous battles set with swords, and hid beyond all these, doth slothful age his lingering pace help forth with staff in hand.
Of corn and wine in hell aloe is any fertile land?
No joyful meads do there bring forth with faces so green and fair, nor yet would with gentle zephyrs wag ripened corn in the air, nor any tree hath there such boughs as do bring apples out. The barren compass of deep soil full filthy lies about, and withered with eternal drought the loathsome land doth waste, and bond full sad of things, and of the world the places last. The air unmoved stands, and night sits there full dark to see in slothful world all things but dreadful horrible there be, and even far worse than death itself is place where death doth bide.
What he that doth those places dark with regal sceptre guide, in what seat set doth he dispose and rule those people's light?
A place there is, in turn obscure of Tartarus from sight, which mist full thick with fearful shade doth old and overgo. From hence a double-parted stream from one wellspring doth flow. The one, much like a standing pool, by this the gods do swear, the which the sacred Stygian lake with silent flood doth bear. To the other fierce with tumult great is drawn his course to go, and Acheron with raging flood the stones drives to and fro, unsailable, with double ford is round about beset. Against it Dightis palace dire, a mansion house full great in shadeful woods is covered. From wide den here their posts and thresholds of the tyrant hang. This is the walk of ghosts, this of his kingdom is the gate. A field about it goes, where sitting with a countenance proud abroad he doth dispose new souls, a cruel majesty is in the god to know. A frowning forehead, which yet of his brethren bears the show, and so great stock there is in him of Jove the very face, but when he lightens a great part of cruel kingdom's place, is he himself the lord thereof, the sight of whom doth fear whatever thing is feared.
Is fame in this point true, ye there such rigours are, and guilty ghosts of men that there remain, forgetful of their former fault, have their deserved pain? Who is the rector there of right, and judge of equity?
Not only one exhorter out of falls in seat set high, the judgments late to trembling souls doth dare by lot award. In one appointed judgment place is Musson minus heard, and in another Radamanth. This crime doth eke here. What each man once hath done, he feels, and guilt to the author there returns, and thereatful with their own example punished be. The bloody cruel captain's eye in prison shut did see, and back of tyrant impotent, even with his people's hand all torn and cut. What man of might with favour leads his land, and of his own life Lord reserves his heartless hands to good, and gently doth his empire guide without the thirst of blood, and spares his soul, he, having long led forth the lingering days of happy age, at length to heaven doth either find the ways, or joyful happy places else of fair Elysium wood. Thou, then, that here must be a judge, abstain from man his blood, whoso thou be that reignest king, our guilds are there acquit in greater wise.
Doth any place prescript of limit shut the guilty ghosts, and as the fame reports, doth cruel pain the wicked men make tame that in eternal bonds remain?
Ixion rolled on whirling wheels is tossed and turned high. Upon the neck of Sisyphus the mighty stone doth lie. Amid the lake with thirsty jaws of old Tantalus therein pursues the waves. The water stream doth wet and wash his chin, and when to him now oft deceived it doth yet promise make, straight flits the flood, the fruit at mouth his famine doth forsake. Eternal food to fleeing fowl doth Tititus' heart give still, and Dana's daughters do in vain their water vessels fill. The wicked Cadmus' daughters all go raging every way, and there doth greedy ravening bird the finny tables fray.
Now of my son declare to me the noble worthy fight. Brings he his willing uncle's gift, or Pluto's spoils to sight?
A dire and dreadful stone there is the slothful fords fast by, where sluggish fleet with wave astoned, full dull and slew doth lie. This lake, a dreadful fellow, keeps both of attire and sight, and quaking ghosts doth overbear an aged ugly wight. His beard unkept, his bosom foul deformed in filthy wise, and knot binds in, full loathsome stand in head his hollow eyes. He, fiery man, doth steer about his boat with his long oar. He, driving now, is his lightened ship of burden towards the shore, repairs to waves, and then his way Alcides doth require, the flock of ghosts all giving place. Aloud cries Charon dire, what way attemptest thou so bold? Thy hastening pace here stay. But Nathalis Alcmene's son, abiding no delay, even with his own pole bat, he doth full tame the shipman make, and climbs the ship. The bark that could full many people's stake did yield to one. He sat, the boat more heavy, like to break, with shivering joints on either side, the leathery flood doth leak. Then tremble all the monsters huge, the centaurs fierce of might, the lapiths kindled with much wine to wars and bloody fight. The lowest channels seeking out the Stygian pool are down, his learny labour sore affright his fertile heads doth drown. Of greedy deities, after this doth then the house appear. The fierce and cruel Stygian dog doth fray the spirits there. The witch with great and roaring sound his head upshaking three. The kingdom keeps his ugly head with filth full foul to see. The serpent's lick, his hairs befouled with the vipers set among, and at his crooked rested tail doth hiss a dragon long. like eye to shape, when him he wised his space, that way to take his bristles hair, he lifteth up with fierce upbended snake, and sound sent out he soon perceives in his applied ear, who even the spirits is wont to send as soon as stood more near, the son of Jove. The doubtful dog straight couched down in den, and each of them did fear. Behold, why with doleful barking then, the placeth dumb, he makes a dread. The threatening serpent stout through all the fields about doth hiss. The bawling noise sent out of dreadful voice from triple mouth. Even spirits that happy be doth make afraid. From left side then straightway undoeth the cruel jaws, and lion's head once slain in Cleon field against him sets, and covered doth himself with mighty shield. And bearing in his conquering hand a sturdy club of oak, now here, now there, he rolleth him about with often stroke. His stripes he doubles, he subdued, his threats assuaged all, and all his heads the weary dog at once full low let fall, and quite out the den he fled, full greatly feared, set in regal throne, both king and queen, and bade him to fed. And me, likewise, they gave for gift of Hercules craving me. The monsters having necks with hands, then stroking down all three, in linked chain he bindeth fast, forgetting then his strength. The dog, the watchful keeper of the kingdom dark at length, layeth down his ears full sore afraid, and suffering to be led, and eke acknowledging his lord, following with lowly head, with tail that snakes thereon doth bear, he both his sides doth might. But after that to Tanner mouth we came, and clearness bright had struck his eyes of light unknown. Good stomach yet again he takes, although once overcome, and now the happy chain he raging shakes. He had almost his leader plucked from place, and headlong backwards drawn to hell, and moved from his space. And even to my hands Hercules then his eyes did backwards cast. We both with double-joined strength the dog outdrawn at last for anger would, and battles yet attempted all in vain, brought up to world, as soon as he the clear air saw again, in spaces pure of bright fair pole, had once beheld the eye, the knight arose. His sight to ground he turned by and by, cast down his eyes, and hateful day forthwith he put to flight, and backwards turned away his look, and straight with all his might to the earth he falls. And underneath the shade of Hercules then he hid his head. Therewith there came a great resort of men, with clamour glad, that did the bay about their foreheads bring, and of the noble Hercules deserved praises sing.
Eurystheus, born with swifted birth in haste, did bid to bottom of the world to go. This only lacked of labours all at last, to spoil the king of third estate also. The dungeons dark to enter off doth bring, full sad and wood so black and feared to be. But full with flock, full great him following, as great a press as flock in city streets, to see the plays of theatre new wrought, as great as Elysius thunder meets, when some assist the sacred game hath brought, as great as when comes hour of longer night, and willing quiet sleeps to be extent, holds equal Libra Phoebus' chariot's light. Assault the secret Creas do frequent, and from their housen left do haste to come, the Attic priests the night to celebrate. Such heaps is chased beneath a field so dumb. With age full slow, some taking forth their gait full sad, and filled with life so long now led, some yet do run the race of better years, the virgins yet enjoin to spouses' bed. The younglings eke on whom grow yet no hairs, and infant lately taught his mother's name, to these alone, that they the less might fear, is granted night to ease with forborn flame. The rest, full sad by dark, do wander there, as is our mood, as is our mind, when once away is fled the light, when each man sorry feels to be deep overwhelmed with all the earth his head, thick chaos stands, and darkness foul to see, and colour ill of night, the slothful state of silent world, and divers clouds about. Let hoary age us hither bring full late. No man comes late to that whence never out. When once he is come, turn again he may, to haste the hard and heavy fate which vaults. This wandering heap in wide lands far away shall to the ghosts, and all shall give their sails to slow Crotus. All is to thee inclined, both what the fall and the rise of sun doth see. Spare us that come, to thee we death are signed. To thee with death are signed. Though thou be slow, ourselves yet haste do we. First hour that gave thee life is lost again. To Thebes is come the joyful day. Your altars touch yet humbly, the fat first sacrifices slay. Maids mixed with men in company, let them in solemn flocks go roll. And now with yoke laid down, let it cease, the tillers of the fertile soil. Made is with the hand of Hercules peace, between the morn and Hesper's glade, and where sun holding middle seat doth make the bodies cast no shade. Whatever ground is over wheat, with compass long of seas abort, Acrides' labour tamed full well, he overforwards the Tartars brought, return appeased being hell. There is remaining now no fear, naught lies beyond the hell to see. O priest, thy startling locks of hair wrapped in with love popular tree.
And Act 4, we have Hercules, Theseus, Amphitryon, and Megara.
With my revenging right hand slain, now Lycus to the ground with grovelling face hath smit. Then whosoever fellow found of tyrant was, partaker of his pains did also lie. Now to my father sacrifice and gods victor will I, and altars that deserve it with slain offerings reverence. Thee, O mate of all my toils, I pray, and my defense, O warful Pallas, in whose left hand thy clear shield Aegis shakes, fierce threats with head that each thing stone that look upon it makes. Let tamer of Lycurgus now, and of Red Sea be here, that point of spear with ivy green in hand doth covered bear. And to God's power doth Phoebus and his sister too, I pray, that the sister meet her for her shafts, but he on the harp to play. And whatsoever brother else of mine doth dwell in sky, not of my stepdame, brother, bring ye hither by and by your plenteous flocks. Whatever have all the Indians' fruits brought out, and what sweet odors the Arabics do get in trees about, to the altars bring. Let vapor fat and fume smoke up full high. Let round about the poplar tree my hairs now beautify. Let the olive bough thee hide with branch accustomed in our land, Theseus, for forthwith reverence the thunderer shall my hand.
O gods, the builders of the town, in which of dragon fell, the wild woods den, and noble ways likewise of Theseus' well, and Tyrian house, inhabit eke of stranger wandering king.
Cast into fires the frankincense.
Sun, first thy hands flowing with bloody slaughter, and the death of an enemy purify.
Would God the blood of hateful head, even unto gods on high, I might outshed. For liquor low, more acceptable none might the altars stain, nor sacrifice more ample any one, nor yet more plentiful may be to Jove above downcast, than king unjust.
Desire that now thy father end at last thy labours all. Let quietness at length yet given be, and rest to weary folk.
I will the prayers make for me. And Jove, full meet in this due place, let stand the haughty sky and land and air, and let the stars drive forth eternally their course unstayed. Let restful peace keep nations quietly. Let labor of the hurtless land all iron now occupy, and swords lie hid. Let tempest none full violent and dire disturb the sea. Let from the skies no flash of lightning fire fall down while Jove full angry is, nor yet with winter's snow increased flood the ground upturned and field quite overthrow. Let poisons cease. From henceforth let up from ground arise no grievous herb with hurtful sap, nor fierce and fell likewise let tyrants reign. But if to sight some other mischief bring the ground yet shall, let it make haste. And any monstrous thing, if it prepare, let it be mine. But what means this? Midday the darkness hath enclosed about. Lo, Phoebus goeth his way with face obscure, without a cloud, who drives the day to flight, and turns to east. From whence doth now his dusky head the night unknown bring forth? Whence fill the pole so many round about of daytime stars? Lo, here behold my labour first, full stout, not in the lowest part of heaven the lion shineth bright, and fervently doth rage with ire and bites, prepared to fight. Even now, lo, he some star will take with mouth full wide to see, he threatening stands, and fires out blows and main, up rustleth he, shaking with neck the harvest sad of shape. Whatever thing he with one rage will overpass, and whatsoever winter cold in frozen time doth bring, he with one rage will overpass, or springtime bull, he will both seek and break the necks at once.
What is this sudden ill? Thy cruel countenance, whether sun dost thou cast here and there, and seest with troubled dazzled sight false shape of heaven appear?
The land is tamed, the swelling seas their surges did assuage. The kingdoms low of hell likewise have felt and known my rage. Yet heaven is free, a labour meet for Hercules to prove. To spaces high I will be born of haughty skies above. Let the air be scaled. My father doth me promise stars obtain. What if he it denied? All the earth can Hercules not contain. And gives at length to gods, me calls of one accord. Behold, the whole assembly of the gods, and doth their gates unfold. While one forbids, receivest thou me, and openest thou the sky. Or else the gate of stubborn heaven draw after me, do I. Do I yet doubt? I even the bonds from Saturn will undo, and even against the kingdom proud of wicked father, lo, my grandsire, loose. Let Titans now prepare again their fight with me, their captain, raging. Stones with woods will I down smite, and high hills tops with centaurs full in right hand will I take. Will double mountain now I will a stair to gods upmake. Let Chiron under Ossa see his Pelian mountain great, Olympus up to heaven above in third degree, then Set shall come itself or else be cast.
Put far away from thee the thoughts that ought not to be spoke, of mind unsound to see, but yet full great, the furious rage assuage and lay away.
What meaneth this? The giant stoop pestiferous arms essay. Tityus from the sprites is fled, and bearing torn to sea an empty bosom. Lo, how near to heaven itself stood he! Cithæron falls. The mountain-high Pelion shakes for fear, and torn are tempests by the tops of Pindus caught hath here. And Oithen he some dreadful thing threatening doth rage about. Erinus bringing flames, with stripes she sounds now shaken out, and burned brands in funerals, lo, yet more near and near throws in my face. Fierce Tisiphone with head and ugly hair with serpents set, now after dogs sent out with Hercules' hand, the empty gate she hath shut up with bolt of fiery brand. But lo, the stock of envious king doth hidden yet remain, the wicked Lycus seed. But to your hateful father slain, even now this right hand shall you send. Let now his arrows light my bow outshoot. It seems the shafts to go with such a flight of Hercules.
Whither doth the rage and fury blind yet go? His mighty bow he drew, with horns together driven low, and quiver loose. Great noise makes with violence sent out the shaft, and quite the weapon flew his middle neck throughout, the wound yet left.
His other brood I overthrow will quite, and corners all. What stay I yet? To me a greater fight remains than all my Cenes. Lo, that rocky stones should all of Cyclops, being overturned with hand of mine, down fall. Let shake both here and there the house with all stays overthrown. Let break the posts, and let quite shrink the shaken pillar down. Let all the palace fall at once. I here yet hidden see the son of wicked father.
Lo, his flattering hands to thee applying, to thy knees doth crave his life with piteous moan. A wicked guilt full sad and eke abhorred to look upon. His humble right hand caught he hath, and raging round about, him rolled twice or thrice hath cast. His head resoundeth out. The sprinkled houses with the brain of him thrown out are wet. But she, poor wretch, her little son in bosom hiding yet, lo, Megara, like one in rage, doth from the corners flee.
Though runagate in bosom of the Thunderer hid thou be, this right hand shall from everywhere thee seek and bring to light.
Where goest thou, wretch? What lurking den seek'st thou to take or flight? No place of safeguard is if once be Hercules stirred with ire. But do thou rather him embrace, and with thy meek desire may assuage him.
Husband, spare us, I beseech thee now, and know thy Megara. This sun thy countenance doth show, and body's pitch. Behold thou how his hands uplifteth he.
I hold my stepdame. Follow, undue penance pay to me, and bounden Jove from filthy bond deliver free away. But I before the mother will this little monster slay.
Thou mad man, whither goest thou? Wilt thou thine own blood shed?
The infant with father's fiery face astonished all for bread, died e'en before the wound. His fear hath took away his life, and now likewise his heavy club is shaken toward his wife. He broken hath the bones, her head from block-like body gone is quite, nor any where it stays. Darest thou this look upon to long-lived age? If mourning do thee grieve, thou hast then lo the death prepared. Do thou thy breast upon his weapons throw, or else this club with slaughter stained of monsters slain that be, now hither turn. Thy parent false, unfit for name of thee, rid hence away, lest he should be to thy renown a let.
Which way the farther towards thy death dost thou thyself cast yet? Or whither goest thou, madman? Flee and lie thou closely hid, and yet from hands of Hercules this only mischief rid.
'Tis well. The house of shameful king is now quite overthrown. To thee, O spouse of greatest Jove, I have lo beaten down this offered flock. I gladly have fulfilled my wishes all, full meet for thee, and Argos now give other offerings shall.
Thou hast not, son, yet all performed, fill up the sacrifice. Lo, the offering doth at the altar stand, it waits thy hand likewise, with neck full prone. I give myself, I run, I follow low, me sacrifice. What meaneth this? His eyes roll to and fro, and heaviness doth dull his sight. See eye of Hercules the trembling hands? Down falls his face to sleep and quietness, and weary neck with bowed head full fast doth downward shrink with bended knee. Now all at once he down to the ground doth sink, as in the woods wild ash is cut down, or bulwark for to make a haven in seas. Lift'st thou? Or else to death doth thee betake the selfsame rage that hath sent all thy family to death? It is but sleep, for to and fro doth go and come his breath. Let time be had of quietness, that thus by sleep and rest great force of his disease subdued may ease his grieved breast. Remove his weapons, servants, lest he mad get them again.
Lest the air complain and eke the parent great of haughty sky and fertile land throughout, a wandering wave of a moving feet, and thou before them all which lands about, and trade of sea thy beams abroad dost throw with glittering face, and makes the night to flee, O fervent Titan. Both thy settings low and rising hath our side seen with thee, and known likewise he hath thy house and twain from so great ills release ye now his breast. O God's release, to better turn again his righter mind, and thou, O tamer best, O sleep of toils, the quietness of mind, of all the life of man the better part, O of thy mother astray winged kind, of hard and pining death that brother art, with truth mingling the false of after state the sure, but eke the worst foreteller yet. O Father of all things of life, the gate, O light, the rest of night and fellow fight, that comes to king and servant equally, and gently cherishest who weary be. All mankind, lo, that dreadful is to die, thou dost constrain long death to learn by thee. Keep him fast bound, with heavy sleep oppressed, let slumber deep his limbs untamed bind, nor sooner leave his unright raging breast, and former mind his course again might find. Low laid on ground with full fierce heart, yet still his cruel sleeps he turns, and not yet is the plague subdued of so great raging ill. And on great club the weary head of his he wont lay, doth seek the staff to find, with empty hands his arms outcasting yet with moving vain. Yet all rage of mind he hath laid down, but as with south wind great the wave once vexed, yet after keepeth still his raging long, and though the wind now be assuaged swells, shake off these made and ill. Tossings of mind return, let piety and virtue to the man, else let be so his mind with moving mire tossed every way. But error blind where it begun hath go, for naught else showed, but now but only madness may thee guiltless make. Next the state it stands to hurtless hands, thy mischief not to know. Now stroken, let with Hercules his hands thy bosom sound. Thine arms the world allow were wont to bear, like grievous stripes now smite with conquering hand and loud complaining cries. Let the air now hear, let of dark polar night the queen them hear, and who full felicity lies that bears his necks in mighty chains fast bound. Lo, lurking careless in deepest cave, let chaos all with clamour sad resound, and a broad sea wide open wafting wave. In the air that felt thy weapons better yet, but felt them though the breasts with so great ills as these beset, with little stroke they must not beat and be, like kingdoms three sound with one plaint and cry, and thou next honour and defence to see his arrow strong, long hand upon high, and quivers light. The cruel stripes now smite on his face back, his shoulders strong and stout, let oaken club now strike, and post of might. His knots full hard, his breast load all about. Let even his weapons for great woes complain. Not you, poor babes, mates of your father's praise, with cruel wounds revenging kings again. Not you! Your limbs in Argos barriers plays are taught to turn with weapons strong to smite, and strong of hand, yet even now daring low the weapons of the Scythian quiver light, with steady hand the peas abset from bow. And stags to pierce to save themselves by flight, and backs not yet full maimed of cruel beast. The Stygian havens go ye of shade and night, go hurtless souls, whom mischief have oppressed, even in his first porch of life, but lately had. And fathers few to go unhappy kind, O little children by the way full side of journey known, go see the angry kings.
Act 5 with Hercules, Amphitryon, and Theseus.
What place is this? What region? Or of the world what coast? Where am I, under rise of sun? Or bound else uttermost of the icy bear? Or else doth here of sea of Helsby the furthest ground appoint a bound for the ocean sea to lie? What air draw we to weary wight what ground is underset? Of truth, we are returned from hell? Whence in my house down beat see I these bloody bodies? Hath not yet my mind off cast the infernal shapes? But after yet returned from hell at last, yet wonder doth that here bloody heap before mine eyes to see. I am ashamed to grant. I quake. I know not what to me. I cannot tell what grievous ill my mind before doth know. Where is my parent? Where is she with goodly children's show, my noble hearty stomached spouse? Why doth my left side lack the lion's spoil? Which way is gone the cover of my back? And self-same bed full soft for sleep of Hercules also? Where are my shafts? Where is my bow? Then from my living who could pluck away? Who hath taken the spoils so great as these? And who was he that feared not even sleep of Hercules? To see my conqueror me likes, it likes me him to know. Rise, victor, up! What new son hath my father gotten now, heaven being left, at birth of whom might ever stay it be a longer night than was in mine? What mischief do I see? My children, lo, do lie on ground with bloody slaughter slain. My wife is killed. What Lycus doth the kingdom yet obtain? Who durst so heinous guilts as these at Thebes take in hand when Hercules is returned? Whoso Ismenes' waters land, whoso Actaeon's fields, or who with double seas beset the shaken Pelops doth of Dardan dwell on yet? Help me, of cruel slaughter show who may the author be. Let rage my ire and all my foe he is, whoso to me shows not my foe. Dost thou yet hide Alcides victor? Lie, come forth, even whether thou revenge the cruel chariots high of bloody Thracian king, or if thou Gerion's cattle quite, or lords of Libya, no delay there is with thee to fight. Behold, I naked stand. although even with my weapons, lo, thou me unarmed set upon. Wherefore fleeth Theseus, thou and eke my father, from my sight? Their faces why hide they? Defer your weepings, and who did my wife and children slay thus all at once? Me tell! Wherefore, O father, dost thou hushed? But tell thou, Theseus, with thy accustomed trust. Each of them silent hides away their bashful countenances, and privily they shed their tears. In so great ills as these, of what ought we ashamed to be? Doth ruler yet of might of Argos town, or hateful band of soldiers apt to fight of Lycus dying, us oppress with such calamity? By praise of all my noble acts I do desire of thee, O Father, and of thy great name approved to me alway, the prosperous power declare to me, who did my household slay? Whose prey lay I?
Let thus thine ills in silence overpass.
That I should unrevenged be.
Revenge oft hurtful was.
Did ever man so grievous ills without revenge sustain?
Whosoever greater feared.
Then these, O Father, yet again may any greater thing, or else more grievous feared be.
How great a part is it thou wott'st of thy calamity?
Take mercy, Father. Lo, I lift to thee my humble hands. What meaneth this? My hand fleeth back, some privy guilt there stands. Whence comes this blood? What doth mean flowing with death of child, the shaft imbrued with slaughter once of Lernia monster killed? I see my weapons now, the hand I seek no more, to wit, whose hand could bend this bow but mine? Or what right at me but it could string the bow that unto me even scantly doth obey? To you I turn, O Father dear, is this my guilt, I pray? They held their peace. It is mine own.
Thy grievous woe is there, the crime thy stepdame's. This mischance no fault of thine hath here.
From every part thy now Father throw in wrath thy thunder's might, and of thy son forgetful now with cruel hand requite at least thy nephews. Let the world that bears the stars sound out, and let both one and the other pole fling down thy flames about, and let the banks of Caspian Sea my bounden body tear and greedy foul, wherefore do of Prometheus lack here the rocks. With huge and haughty top let now prepared be both feeding beasts and fowls, the side of Caucasus turn to see. And bare of woods the ill that bridge of Scythia that hereby stands, Symphagus joins both here and there, let it my bounden hands stretch out abroad. And when with course returned accustomedly they shall together drive, and shall the rocks toss up to sky with banks together being thrust, and eke the middle sea, let me between the mountains lie, unquiet, restless stay, but building up with wood thrown on a heaped pile on high, my body thus with wicked blood besprinkled, why burn not I? So it must be done. To hell I Hercules will restore.
Not yet his heart astonished lacks his raging tumult sore, but wraths hath turned, and which of rage is property and ire against himself, he rageth now.
The Furies, places dire and dungeon deep of sprites in hell and place of tormentry, to guilty ghosts and banishment, if any yet do lie beyond Erebus, yet unknown to Cerberus and me, there hide me ground to farthest bound of Tartarus to see. To tarry there I'll go. O breast of mine too fierce and stout, who you, my children, thus disperse through all my house about, may worthily enough bewail. In all my evils yet this countenance hard can never weep. A sword now hither set, my shafts reach hither, hither reach my mighty club also. To thee my weapons break I will, to thee my son. Too I'll knap my bows, and eke my club, this block of heavy weight, shall to thy sprites be burned. Lo, this self-same quiver freight with Lernean shafts to funeral of thine shall likewise go. Let all my weapons penance pay, and you, unhappy, too, even with my weapons burn I will. O stepdame's hands of mine!
Who ever yet to ignorance hath given name of crime?
Full oftentimes did error great the place of guilt obtain.
'Tis need to be a Hercules now, this heap of ill sustain.
Not so. Hath shame yet given place, with fury drowned quite? But peoples all I rather should drive from my wicked sight. My weapons, Theseus, I quickly crave to me withdraw, to be restored again. If sound my mind now be, restore to me my weapons. If yet last my rage of mind, then, father, flee, for I the way to death myself shall find.
By sacred holy kindred's rights, by force and duty all of both my names, if either me thy bringer up thou call, or parent else, and which of good men's reverenced are, by these hoary hairs I thee beseech, my desert age yet spare, and weary years of house fallen down, the one a lonely stay, one only light to me, with ills afflicted every way, reserve thyself. Yet never hath there happened once of thee fruit of thy toils. Still either I the doubtful sea to see, or monsters feared. Who ever yet hath been a cruel king, in all the worlds to ghosts allow, and altars both hurting of me is feared. The father of thee absent still to have the fruit, the touching, and the sight of thee at length I crave.
Wherefore I longer should sustain my life yet in this light, and linger here, no cause there is. All good lost have I quite, my mind, my weapons, my renown, my wife, my sons, my hands, and fury to no man may heal, and loose from guilty bands my mind defiled. Needs must with death be healed so heinous ill.
Wilt thou thy father slay?
Lest I should do it, die I will.
Before thy father's face?
I taught him mischief for to see.
Thy deeds marking rather that should of all remembered be. Of this one only crime I do pardon of thee crave.
Shall he give pardon to himself that to none else it gave? I being bidden praise deserve, this deed mine own doth prove. Help, father, now, or else, if either else thy piety thee move, or else my heavy fate, or else the honor and renown of stained strength my weapons bring, let fortune be thrown down with my right hand.
The prayers which thy father makes to thee are strong enough, but yet likewise with weeping low of me being by moved yet. Arise thou up, and with thy wonted might subdue thine ills. Now such a mind unmeet to bear upright nor evil hap, receive again. Lo, now with manhood great thou must prevail. Even Hercules forbid with ire to fret.
Alive, I hurt. But if I die, I take the guilt also. I haste to rid the world of crime. Even now before me, lo, a wicked monster, cruel and untamed, fierce and flout doth wander. Now with thy right hand begin to go about a great affair, yea, more than all thy twice 6 labors long. Yet stayest thou, wretch, that late among the children was so strong and fearful mother, now except restored my weapons be, of Thracian Pindus either I will tear down every tree, and Bacchus' holy woods and tops of Mount Cytheron high burn with myself, and all at once with all their housen, I, and with the lords thereof, the roofs with gods of Thebes, all the Theban temples, even upon my body, will let fall, and will be hid in town upturned. If to my shoulders might the walls themselves all cast thereon shall fall a burden light, and covered with 7 gates I shall not be enough oppressed, then all the weight whereon the world in middle part doth rest, and parts the gods upon my head I'll turn and overthrow. My weapons give.
This word is meet for Hercules, father low, with this same arrow slain. Behold, thy son is tumbled down. This weapons cruel Juno low from hands of thine hath thrown. This same will I now use. Lo, see how leaps with fear affright my wretched heart, and how it doth my careful body smite. The shaft is set thereto. Thou shalt a mischief, lo, do now, both willing it and wotting. Tell, what thing commandest thou? I nothing crave, my dollar low in safety standeth now. To keep my son alive to me, that only do canst thou, O Theseus. Yet I have not scaped greatest fear that happen can, so canst me not a miser make. Thou mayst a happy man, so order everything thou dost, as all thy cause in hand. And fame thou mayest well know in strait and doubtful case to stand, thou liv'st or diest. This slender soul that light is hence to flee, wearied with age, and no less bent with grievous ills to see. In mouth I hold so slowly to a father with such stay. Doth any man give life? I will no longer bid delay. The deadly sword throughout my breast to strike I will apply. Here, here, the guilt of Hercules, e'en sound of mind, shall lie.
Forbear, O father, now forbear, withdraw thy hand again. My manhood yield, thy father's will and empery sustain. To Hercules' labours now likewise let this one labour go. Let me yet live, lift up from ground the afflicted limbs with woe, O Theseus, of my parent, for from godly touch doth flee my wicked hand.
I gladly do this hand embrace to me. By this I being slayed will go, this moving to my breast, I'll slake my woes.
What place shall I seek, runagate, for rest? Where shall I hide myself, or in what land myself engrave? What Tanais or Nilus else, or with his Persian wave? What Tigris violent of stream, or what fierce Rena's flood? Or Tagus troublesome that flows with Iber's treasures good? May my right hand now wash from guilt. Although Maeotis cold, the waves of all the northern sea on me now shed out would, and all the water thereof should now pass by my 2 hands, yet will the mischief deep remain. Alas, unto what lands wilt thou, O wicked man, resort? To east or western coast? Each where well known, all place I have of banishment quite lost. From me the world doth flee aback, the stars that sidling run do backward drive their turned course. Even Cerberus, the sun, with better countenance did behold. O faithful friend, I say, O Theseus, seek some lurking place far hence out of the way. O thou, a warder of men's guilts, whatever judge thou be, that hurtful men dost love, repay a worthy thank to thee. And my deserts, I thee beseech, to ghosts of hell again send me that once escaped them, and subject to thy reign, restore me yet to those thy bands. That place shall me well hide, and yet even that place knows me well.
Our land for thee doth bide. There Mars his hand acquit again, and made from slaughter free, restored to armour. Lo, that land Alcides called for thee, which wants to quiet the gods, and prove them innocent to be.
And here endeth the cheerful, happy tale of Hercules Furens, translated into English by Jasper Heywood, student in Oxenford. So, yeah, it's as often with this kind of play. It takes you quite a while to sort of get into it. You're sometimes scrabbling about, going, who are these people and why are they really sad? But then once you get towards the latter stages, when the really horrible things have happened, then it really catches fire, doesn't it? Once he starts going a little bit off the deep end, and then does the horrible things, and then is sad about doing the horrible things, that really leapt off the page. Whereas some of the earlier stuff was a little, I felt sorry for Cerberus. I did. I thought, leave the poor dog alone. It's not his fault. It's go and leave it alone. So tales of the underworld and stuff, and even the sort of the what Lycus was up to, sort of oppressing his family. I did like Juno at the beginning. Juno was, she's quite problematic, but she's got away with words. Sorry, Liza.
X from hell, like she's all resentful that Jupiter divorced her for some reason, and she's like, well, I'm gonna smite all his illegitimate offsprings.
Yeah, I mean, you got to feel for Hercules a bit. I mean, there's it doesn't seem to be a particular sense of actually what's done to Hercules in Act 4. It's not like there's something indicating the point where, I mean, you can figure out where the point where things go wrong for him, but it's not like Juno appears and goes ding at any point to, sort of clarify. It's been a while since we heard that, madness is coming. So that's sort of one of those interesting structural problems. But hey, sound effects, magical effects, something can be done there. And of course, actually giving people the argument and letting them know what the plot is, because actually knowing the plot, it's not a thing where spoilers matter. I don't think. I think you're expected to know the plot before you start. Even though we didn't have time to read it out. Though actually this one was mercifully short. I probably should have done. But not fulsome, as it doesn't necessarily explain who Megara is and things like that. Any thoughts? Final thoughts from the room? I mean, we've already lost a few people as they've had to nip off because we're already well into extra time, trying to squeeze all this into one evening. Lynsey, do you have any thoughts about your Hercules father? How did you feel?
Yeah, I thought it. I mean, I enjoyed doing it, and I was the sort of the one character that didn't kind of have one of these massive page after page after page speech. So I was grateful for that. But I totally agree about how once that kind of turning point in the plot comes, it sort of becomes a different play, really. And I just wonder if we do a second look at it, whether we can cut after Juno sort of closer to when Hercules sort of returns, or somehow kind of condense it that way. Not sure.
Yeah, it's not just where possibly cutting elements of Act 2 down. It's also just clarity of knowing what's going on, because it's not very clear. Actually, it didn't leap off the page of saying I knew what was going on because I'd read the argument. I didn't know what was going on when I was listening to it, and I think that's a structural problem.
Yes, the 14ers can lead to quite convoluted sentence structure, and it's hard to know exactly how to punctuate it sometimes. So
Whereas even when the script didn't tell me that Hercules was going mad at X point, I did quite quickly twig that was what was happening at that point. So it is strange that different parts of the narrative are clearer than others. As I say, but yeah, I sort of have to say, in terms of, you know, if this was a more performative thing, you know, it's that second half where you're just going, yeah, leave that pretty much as is. Decide what you're doing staging wise, because I don't know precisely who gets killed, how, and where. In that moment, when murdery stuff is going on. So there's all sorts of interesting things there. Valentina, any final thoughts?
That's definitely. I really enjoyed, even as a cold read, the descent into hell speech. The first part, not the Cerberus. Not the Cerberus mistreatment part, but yeah, the first part is quite a nice speech to do, even as it is, even for an audition or something.
Yeah, there's some nice stuff in here. I mean, see, it is on that sort of, shall we say, that spectrum between literature and drama. It is much more on the literature side. You know, there's some beautiful poetry in here. There's a lot of good stuff in here, but there's also just a lot of stuff in here. You know, it was 1 hour and 51 minutes, I think, approximately. And that's not necessarily doing it in the way that you would do it if you were doing it that way. Liza, any final thoughts?
Well, yeah, I mean, this was a hell of a read. This play, it takes a little while to get going, but then once it gets going, it just doesn't let up. And as with many scenes of intense emotion, the challenge is not to go too high too early. I think Hercules is pretty tired when he first shows up, because he just did the whole harrowing of hell thing, rather like Jesus. But Jesus didn't murder his entire family. Yeah, we might have to cut that.
Just walk away from that one, Liza.
Anyway, I think Hercules is pretty tired when the play starts, and then, you know, various stages of kind of exhaustion. I think maybe the exhaustion helps make the madness a little more believable, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, you know, there was some discussion in chat whether, you know, there's actually also a psychological reason rather than just a mythological reason, that, you know, that he's been to hell. I mean, you know, let's not suggest that this was a great time he's just had. So yeah, even if he was with his mate, you know, Theseus, you know, as it were, was there. Any other final thoughts anyone wants to throw in before we close the session? Yeah, hell of a read. We really liked Act 4 and 5. You know, if this is one you want to play around with, certainly some individual scenes and some individual speeches. There's some really good stuff in here, but maybe some tweaking if you wanted to put it on stage. All that remains to thank all the wonderful readers, those present and those who've had to go because, you know, life's too short. Oh, thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye.